This is the regular meeting of the Darien Parks and Recreation Commission, February 15th, 2023, calling the meeting to order. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes from January 18th. Does anybody have any changes? Diane had notified us that it incorrectly said that Cheryl was here, so that correction has already been made. That it was
Diane
participated.
yeah.
Yes, Diane participated, not Cheryl, so that correction has already been made. I'll make a note of that for the public record.
I had one question.
Okay.
So I thought when we were talking about
What topic?
the fee schedule for Parks and Recs, and we talked about supporting the idea of creating an informal subcommittee, I thought where we ended up, well, I like where this says where we ended up, I didn't think that's where we ended up. I think where we ended up is we took the military discount matter off the table because we didn't think it was supported by members in the town. While I like the idea that the subcommittee actually looks at both matters, I don't think that's what we voted on.
Okay, so what wording?
Well, I think if we can either go back and look at the tape and
Yeah.
see if I'm right.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm right, because I thought of how to vote on this. Or we could change it and say that we concluded the discussion by creating an informal subcommittee prior to taking any action on additional discounts.
Yeah, well, see, one's a discount and one's an access. They're
Not
kind
an
of two
access.
different, yeah.
I'd probably additional to study the,
Yeah, Pam, I think you were gonna go back, because remember when you kept saying, well, we've been asked, and we're like, well, how much have we been
Right,
asked?
and I was
you
going
were
back to
sort
the
of
office.
like,
You were gonna go back and
Like, I'm not
check,
even
and
sure
that's
if
why I
it's an issue.
remember, that's why I remember that
Um,
it wasn't necessarily that we voted we would do it, because you were gonna go back and check. That's what I had in my
Right.
notes. Yeah.
So maybe the commission can have that.
So, wait, you're saying that the vote wasn't,
the vote wasn't this. The
that we
vote,
moved to approve the fee schedule without the military discount line?
the vote, well, we concluded the discussion by saying that we were going to create an informal subcommittee. The subcommittee wasn't looking at the military discount, was just looking at the non-resident employee. We did vote to approve the fee schedule, that you're correct.
Without that,
Without that, yes.
But I felt like Chris did say that he was gonna do the military
Yeah,
too.
But I
I think where we ended up was going
I was gonna go back and check
Was
about
gonna go
how
back and
many
check.
requests have we gotten. It's
Yeah.
been one.
Yeah,
So you're saying that it shouldn't say that we were considering military discount?
we weren't. We were going to go back and check and see what the information says, whether there's enough people in town who are looking for it. And then we're just considering, what we're considering for an informal subcommittee was the non-resident town employee beach access. Well, I like this process because that's what I asked for. It wasn't necessarily what we decided to do.
Okay, so maybe just say concluded by supporting the idea of creating an informal subcommittee. Just say subcommittee. To further study
Yeah.
non-resident town employee beach access.
And we will look into the amount of requests for a military discount.
Okay. Ms. Geary will research frequency of military discount requests. How about that?
Yep.
Cool. Got it.
Okay, and then there was, the only other thing I had is in the beautification funds, there's just a typo in the third sentence, third line. Ms. Flora confirmed that Mr. Biggs, that the addition of something was not included in the initial plan.
Is board confirming this week that the addition of berms was not included?
What's Burns?
Berms,
Oh.
they're the
Oh,
hilly things.
I think this was with respect to, remember the sand discussion where the residents said that we had sand, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Coming
sand
off
coming,
over
yeah.
the beach and hitting, going across the road to her property. So,
The berms,
and then,
That's the Burns.
that's the berms.
and
Okay,
Lori
forget it.
reached out to,
I didn't know what a berm was.
yeah, to to Dan Biggs to say, hey, were we doing something there already so that we're not duplicating and da. That's why she clarified that. I think that was really.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I have.
Just a few things. The very beginning on the discussion, fee schedule says, I began the discussion by recalling the proposed pickleball. Would it be reviewing? Recalling
Yes.
sounds funny. I recall. In the director's report, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, it says there's a highly visible tower with transmission, is it lights or transmission lines?
Lines.
Lines.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Okay. And that's all I had. Anything else, Mary Louise?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah? Good, okay, and I'll take the motion to, Mary Louise, second? Kathy? All in favor? Opposed? No, nobody to vote. Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment? No public people. Okay, thank you, we'll move right along. Okay, next we will discuss and vote on the Little League donation of $15,000 for the field evaluation at McGuan. Pam, I believe we have a guest.
Yes, this is our new president of Little League, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to mess up your name.
John Butler. Thank you for allowing me to speak. It's my first time being here, so I'm happy to take you through the background quickly, if that's helpful.
That'd be great, yep.
Um,
Let me check, TV 79 is Mr. Butler okay where he is? Okay.
My good side. So the fields we're talking about are the 3 fields at McGuan, the 2 baseball fields and the softball field, which is also used for Challenger. And all 3 fields they've been well tended to over the past 2 decades, but none of them have been what's called reskinned or fundamentally improved upon over the last close to 20 years. And as a result, a few things have happened. There's some drainage issues on a couple of fields, particularly the softball field actually turns into kind of a lake when it rains. And partially because of that, there's been some sinking and certain parts of the field and overall erosion. We put new sand and clay down on a regular basis and rebuild the mounds on a regular basis, but it's sort of patchwork. It's been reasonably effective. But what we want to do is going to take a clean look at all 3 fields. We didn't hire, but we asked Tom Irwin Advisors to come and take a look. They're like a consultant for all sorts of fields, softball fields, baseball fields, etc. To look at the situation and see if they agreed that it's merits spending time and money to evaluate doing a construction project to improve the fields. Long story short, they agreed that they do need to be looked at. The base paths are sinking. There's a big lip issue. Actually, my son, this is not particularly, this is coincidental, but my son actually lost 2 teeth when a ball went off the lip last year and caught him in the face. That's the same issue. It's been improved upon a little bit on the field, but the softball field has the same issue. And the outfields particularly the baseball outfields, are 8 to 12 inches below the infields. So it's not how it's supposed to be. So a fair amount of work needs to be done. And as a result, Darien Little League would like to donate $15,000 to do kind of a deep dive evaluation, the results of which would tell us what specifically the issues are, what we should do, make some conclusions and recommendations in terms of improving upon the current condition. And based on other conversations with other towns who've gone through a similar type of process, we expect that there'll be a recommendation scope of work to improve upon the fields. We're not here to talk about that, but the whole reason we're doing this is so that if it's agreed that it makes sense to do that, we would then figure out how to go about improving the fields, ideally in like the fall off-season of next year, with the goal being to have fields that are in, kind of pristine shape.
And Jen, it's really good to hear your background on it too, because some of that information we didn't get from our park supervisor, but we did bring that to the commission's attention during budget season and put that in as a capital improvement item, but it didn't move forward. And that's when we reached out to Little League to see. So it's really good to hear the background from you too. So that was something that we really wanted to do. So it's wonderful that, that you're here to describe it and to donate the money. It's pretty awesome.
It'll be good for everybody. A lot of little kids playing baseball still.
It
Any
sounds-
other questions that I can address?
Can you
Sounds
tell
like
us
a
the
great-
numbers for DLL?
In terms of the total number, yeah, that's a good question. So I happen to know for DLL, all I know is for spring right now, but it's 640 kids are signed up right now for house, non-travel. There's another few hundred who are, sorry, I can figure it out. There's 16, so it's about another 100 doing travel this is all just baseball at the 6th, 7th grade and below levels. And then there's something like 250 for softball. So think of it as like 1,000 kids for spring plus calendar. So think of it as around 1,000 kids for the spring. And then those numbers are lower in the summer, obviously, something like half that. Fall is maybe somewhere in between the two. But, I think of it and as, a couple thousand kids, not discrete, but, a couple thousand kids are playing at least one point or the other, which is amazing, over the course of the year, either doing travel, districts, house, challenger, and softball. And softball obviously has their own travel teams too.
That's a lot of feet.
It's a lot of feet, a lot of baseball.
And at one point, DLL was the largest, definitely largest in Connecticut. And I thought potentially, like,
It's one of the largest in the United States.
in the United States,
For
so
sure.
that's what I was gonna say. Back in
And it is the largest.
about 10
in the-
years ago, I think we had that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I know it is in Connecticut. They describe it as one of the largest, but I don't know if I'm aware of a larger one.
That'll be a good talking point when you guys bring it up for future and start talking about it now too. Obviously, the Board of Finance, that this is, we're not just like a lacrosse town or a football town, that we are one of the largest ones in the country, and so we need the support for that.
Yeah.
Does that number include the visitors?
That's just the.
That's just us.
That's just
Right,
us.
so then there actually are more kids than that are actually.
Yeah, we're playing a lot of the baseball, the house baseball is just within the
Within,
town.
right,
But all
but
those
there are
travel
other-
teams, you're talking about, over the course of a year, it's, several hundred folks from around the state.
It's a great program. My son spent many hours on those fields.
Mine too.
I just wanted to know if the 15,000, do you think that will cover the whole cost of the evaluation, or is the evaluation expected to cost more than that?
No, 15 was the evaluation.
$14,925.
And then after that, they'll come back and recommend what they feel needs to be done, which could be anywhere. I think Sandy at one point was talking about, potential 30,000 if it was like 10,000 per field, but.
I think that's based on, that this was done in Stanford, for example, and they did like a phenomenal job. We played, I was saying, I played on the field. I didn't play on the field, my son played on the field. And I think it was something like, 10 to 15, so that's how we were thinking about it. That was for one field.
And so then we would have something so they could have the evaluation completed, so you would just start the work.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that I still think it needs to go to bid.
Okay.
Anything over 10,000 within the town has to go out to bid, unless they were, on a state contract. So, and I don't know how many other firms do this type of work, but I think that.
Why would we have to go to bid if they're giving the gift and they pay for it? Because I'm just saying, because when we did the
Because they're giving
playground.
it to the town.
Is it, oh, it's coming to the town and we have to pay for it? Like, sometimes what we've done in the past is like, if they do the work and then they gift, I wonder if there's a way they gift it to us, so we don't have to worry about the bidding process.
Where they can do the work, they can do the evaluation themselves.
Yeah, like, why can't they do it and just?
Does that work?
I don't know, I understand that it's a gift to the town.
The report would still be a gift to the town because it's an evaluation of our fields.
Okay.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and yes, that would be easier, but
If Little League owned all of that, it'd be a totally different story. But
Okay.
they don't, so,
they would be giving us a report, the value of which would be the cost of creating
We're
it.
trying to help you.
That's
And
my
we'll take
question.
whatever help you can,
Yeah,
but I'm not
Yeah.
in a position to
yeah.
yeah.
opine.
I think that's the course it has to take. Which again, I mean, we,
Following the evaluation, will you have enough time for remediation before the season starts again?
That's kind of
I
weird.
think so. I think we can do this relatively quickly, this part, and then while we're, without interfering with this season, spring, summer, fall, and then the goal would be that, on November 1st of 2023 or something thereabouts, they would do the field work.
But where would that funding come from?
That is TBD.
Because we don't have it. No, I mean, we've already put our proposed budget through, it's,
If
yeah.
there were no other places for it to come, we would pay for it.
Okay.
We would, or make a donation
Right.
to that.
And I'm not saying I don't think the town should pay for it, I'm just saying practically speaking, we're already, the train has left the station on this
Budget.
year's budget.
right. So any of those funds, you'd be looking at fiscal '25 if we were involved, so it's really
Right.
like,
Yeah, I think we'd want to move out
Right.
quickly. So
and I think the
that
fact
we-
that the town is now looking at the patio.
You could do
We've already,
fundraising for
yeah,
it.
we've given some thought to
Yeah.
that,
If
and
it's only, if it's like 10 grand a field-ish, yeah, you'll raise that.
we have some ideas on how we can raise
Yeah.
money to do that, and,
Excellent.
name
So we'll
benches,
talk
et cetera, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also a question that we have to will be asked, because to receive the gift, it has to come through us, then it needs to be approved by the selectmen, then the Board of Finance, then the RTM committees, and then the RTM. And the question they will ask is, okay, you're gonna do the study, and it sounds like you're gonna conclude that the fields need to be fixed. Where's that coming from? So I know that's a question.
Yeah, and I would also say, I would say that, Darien Lilly, has the funds, there's no sort of risk that it won't be done. This is not a wasted gift, like, we will raise the money to offset it, but we have the cash to pay for it currently.
That's good. So we just have to, you guys are accepting the gift tonight, and then it can go on to
Correct.
rules, and then
No.
we can get it onto the, oh, it's gotta go to the
It's gotta go
selectmen
to
and
the
the Board of
selectmen,
Finance,
Board of Finance
and then
first.
come, right, okay. But it won't, that aspect of the donation, this is their first step, right? Then it goes to, just so you understand, it goes to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, then it'll come to our Rules Committee and then RTM. That's not that hard, it's really just the next meeting. They're in the middle of budgets, but that's not the difficult part. You just said that you have the money on hand for the later part, that would have been the difficult holdup.
Sure.
Any other questions? Did you talk to the Little League about the parking at Baker?
Oh, yes, yeah, Sean thought it wouldn't impede upon.
Okay, so we don't need to
at all.
discuss that while he's here? No? Okay,
No, he didn't think that was going to impede upon.
okay,
So I asked him.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from Little League, if we're ready.
Yep, we're ready.
I'll second
Second?
that.
Okay, all in favor? Awesome. Thank
It
you.
was easy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
for your time. My daughter's doing cotillion now, so I'm gonna.
Oh, that's why we had you on there earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you all for your time.
Nice
to meet you.
She's doing good too.
Yeah, well, she's not, but she should be. Thank you.
I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, you too,
Yeah.
Pam.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Oh, here it is. Okay, next on the agenda is it's not really vote, but on the beautification funds, you know, we had talked last month and agreed that for the money we have available to expend by the end of this fiscal year, that pear tree was the priority, and our thinking was that perhaps Dan Biggs of Weston and Sampson could come up with a landscape plan for us, and then we could implement that. So Pam did reach out to him and get a proposal, and while it's a very lovely and very professional proposal, he came in at $14,850, which is
Or the work, or the,
for
Plan.
just to do the plan.
plan and to supervise the construction phase.
So that doesn't include any materials.
Correct.
So we're a little over.
Yeah, that's most of our money, so that seems like a lot.
It is.
That doesn't even include the plants.
Yeah, and
No.
it's actually a really, I walked by there and it's quite a lot. I mean, it needs a lot of
It
material.
needs a lot of help.
Yes, it does need a lot of help, but unfortunately,
I
this,
walk there a lot.
And the way
he would do a wonderful plan, but then we would have no money
To do them.
to implement it unless we immediately took next year's money, you know, like did the plan
Yeah.
and whatever, and this is even more, we'd have to put this out to bid like we were just talking to, so,
It's a tough spot too, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
It does require, I think it does require a lot more thought than just putting.
And our guys can't do it.
And it's kind of a narrow spot, and I looked at where we had done the planning by the Ziegler's
Yeah.
Park Memorial Park area, which is closer to the
Yeah.
dock. There's actually a wider area, and there's an evergreen there, and then there's some grasses and a pathway. And those grasses get cut down, so it doesn't really hold, there's no sand there because it's the boat ramp, so there's no problem with sand getting out. But the spot that is the trouble spot, that, all that sand is coming, you know, through the beach, through the parking lot, and then coming. So I think we need to think about something more long-term. And the grasses tend to be cut by, you know, that's what they do, and that's not gonna hold back the sand that's gonna be flying over.
right.
So I'm not sure what the solution is there. I don't know if we have the expertise to come up with something.
No, we do, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the intention for this first round was to just do something to make the park look more appealing this summer, knowing that if the parking lot's gonna be ripped up and everything's gonna be regraded, that's when we do sort of the bigger stuff.
Right.
But the idea this year was to just get some really nice plantings and something so that it's not so sparse.
I think you're right, but I think we also talked about maybe trying to make sure this wasn't money ill spent, meaning that it was something that could live for a while. So that's where I think your point comes in. Can we do something that will survive through the changes at Pear Tree Point, but at the same time help with the issues of erosion and sand that we're talking about?
I thought we talked about by the picnic tables, it needed some immediate barrier, you know, to help so the sand.
For
from-
the sand, yeah, you had
It was like a
mentioned,
screen.
looking at the
For
minutes, you
retain.
seem to think that might even be something that your team can do.
I don't think that they're gonna be able to do like, you know, dunes, you know, but in terms of, someone mentioned like a screen or some stuff, some sort.
The
that would keep-
grasses.
Oh, grasses,
Yeah.
that's what we were talking about, is
Yeah,
grasses.
the grasses like what we have at Weed,
Mm.
just as a barrier.
Yeah, because at Weed, what happened was we have these kind of deep berms, and then there is plantings on them. And so the spot that I think is the trouble for the residents that were complaining was that it's very narrow, the strip that goes from the parking lot to the road. So having a berm is not probably as realistic, you know, in that area, because the square footage is just not there. So I think it does need some kind of plantings or something that can stay there. And it might be something more than grasses, only because grasses get, like I said, cut down, or they flop over. I don't know if that's gonna be good for the road, parking lot area. So I'm just saying, maybe it's a great idea to get some professional help. I'm not sure it's $14,000.
No, I think we all agree we need professional help, but unfortunately, I mean, you look back at our minutes, we thought, oh, it'd probably be a couple $1,000s for Dan to do a plan. Well, it's not.
14 something.
Have we asked them to reduce it?
It's so far down. I mean, for what we wanted to spend. So, I mean, I was wondering if someone like, Karen Hewen.
She's really busy. I
She's-
mean, yeah, I
well-
know. I reached out to her for this thing, the other thing we're working
Yeah.
on.
Well, I know.
And her timeline might not fit because like she's away now and we've decided, I'll tell you about it later, release her from the Sullick's Woods entrance, project. But I don't know. I'm happy to reach out again for that, but.
And I'm also working with Dan on a potential quote he just gave me where I asked him if he could produce it.
Could we ask Dan whether it's possible for, say, the plan cost this much, but if we have him execute the plan, he could reduce some of the planning fee from
From the plan.
the planting?
Does he do that?
I don't know, it is.
Because a lot of landscapers do that.
It is
It's
itemized.
like a design.
I thought the same
Yeah,
thing.
but he's not a landscaper.
Final
Lori,
design.
Juliet couldn't do this? Have you guys talked to the beautification committee?
No, we started thinking we would use, if we could
Okay.
use Winston and Sampson because
But
they're
again,
doing
they're
the
the
rest
ones
of
who
the.
got us all those trees down at
Yep.
Cherry Lawn, and they planted stuff out. Susan Daly knows because she worked on it in front of here at Town Hall. Like, she's connected to One Tree Planting. I met those people, they're just ready to donate stuff. We just want to make sure it's the right things. But she also knows, Monica had her come in and give input on Highland not too long ago, because so many things were dying there. So it might just not be a bad thing to ask, because
She just finished your last, she just resigned from the Beautification Commission.
Juliet did.
Isn't she the chairman?
Yeah,
Yes.
she just did.
Yes, she's busy with some other stuff.
Okay,
So
but somebody
she
is
just had her
taking
last
over
meeting.
that. It's just a thought, because then it
Yeah.
wouldn't cost us.
How much money do we have
They have
again? we want to
access
spend
to-
before the year end?
I want to say 18,
Yeah,
18,000.
we haven't started using it.
And it has to be used by
June
June
30th.
30th.
June 30th, 6:30.
So that's what I was Karen, just,
I'll reach out to her. I'm happy to.
Well, when we did the tour,
Mhm.
we were focused on the area surrounding the gazebo and also that area.
One of the bathrooms. Right,
Exactly.
to soften that, because there's nothing, now that
Right, I
the
mean-
goldenrod's gone.
That is not
just make it-
humongous. That could be done.
Yeah, but you want somebody who knows how to select plants and to
True,
do that,
true.
and someone like Karen, or I'm sure there's other people in town too, she's someone I've worked with.
Yeah.
Kind of know what to select and what's going to do well.
Okay.
Um,
I'm happy to ask her.
Or if she can't do it, maybe she knows who
Okay,
other
I'll ask her.
likely candidates are.
Right, because you're not asking her for pro bono, you're asking
No,
her
no,
to maybe
no,
give us
no,
a
no.
quote
No,
to
no.
do it.
Oh, yeah, no, we're there.
I'll ask her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, this would be a pay job.
But telling her that our number is 18 inclusive of her fee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what
Okay.
we've got to spend.
Okay.
I just reluctant to spend all the money we have on plants and not plants. People want to see plants this summer. We gotta figure out how to get plants in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Okay.
I do think the plan is really important, like having that design plan,
It is.
really important.
It is. And
And then you can start, purchasing what you need, or obviously you have to find somebody that's gonna,
do
do the work.
Then we have to keep them alive, understood, so we have to have room for that if we need something
Then we have
for
to order.
watering or
New
whatever.
plantings have to be
Yeah,
ordered.
so that's important, so. Okay, so anyway, that didn't come out the way we had
Okay.
hoped, but it is what it is, and it's more than we got.
Can I see that? too?
Hey.
Just so I can explain to her.
Yep.
Thank you.
Give you ideas too.
Okay, any more questions or discussions on that? Nope. Okay, Pam, you will update us on the gazebo?
So we had one bidder, and he came in at 17.5. And so he is, I called all his references, everything checked out really great. Sent him the award letter, he has ordered the supplies, and he will have the supplies on site Friday to start the work, because it's been so mild.
Adele, when will the RTM vote on accepting the gift?
Monday.
No, I thought it was Thursday.
No, for
We-
committees
Oh, you're-
Thursday.
We meet tomorrow.
Gotcha.
excuse me, I'm sorry, not this Monday, the next Monday, so the 27th. The RTM vote's on the 27th.
So do we have a problem him starting when we haven't accepted the gift?
We haven't paid him yet.
Yeah, he's not gonna get paid until he's finished,
Okay, but technically you don't have the money to pay him, just saying.
right?
If you're not worried, I guess I'm not, but. I don't like it, but I'm just saying.
Can you tell him that it's up to him if he wants to start, and knowing that you have to vote? And give him the option in getting the work done.
I could give him the option to get started later.
Well, it's just a couple of days, so he could
Well,
have
it's a week.
a week.
It's a week. And did you get the replacement check?
No,
Okay, so let's do that too.
no, they
just
wanted
gotta
to
wait.
settle when
They
final
wanted-
costs were in, so I've put in a request for a quote for the plaque. That was a mouthful.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear back from them, because then I'm going to shoot that off to the family to see if
Okay.
they like the look of the plaque, so there's some more work to be done there, so.
And it would be nice to tell them that the gift was actually accepted, so that when they send the check this time.
Right, because it could be a check for, $19,500. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to settle at this point, because it was 20 that they wrote the check for, but at this point they said, let's just see how much this vendor comes in at, how much the plaque ends up costing, and then they'll send us the money.
You look confused.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
Well, right now, we're going to be voting on a gift of $20,000.
Up to, right?
Yeah, well, yes, you
We
are.
need to say, I think, up to.
Well, I tried to do that, but Kate had a problem with that language. So I put in 20, because it could be, very well be 20, but the bottom line is whatever it shakes out to be at the end, it could,
We've also got the painting.
the painting's not gonna happen until the fall. Our guys cannot paint that during their
Could
busy
we take the
season.
500 and hire somebody to paint it?
Well, the painting quote came in at 15,000.
Oh, so no.
On that particular guy, we put an ad alternate on there,
Right.
and he came in at 15,000 to paint it. So we might be able to get started in, like, at the end of July, where our guys start wrapping up summer and they release, but unless of course it's overtime, but.
All right, well, I'll leave it to you, but I did want to raise that.
Will the quote ever come in, meaning what his actual costs are higher than 20?
His cost?
His costs, he came at 19.
No, 17,500.
17,500.
That's a lot.
No, we have plenty of money
Okay.
right now. Plenty of money, because we saved a few thousand on the roof too.
I mean, everything's good. It's just a timing
It's a
thing,
timing
and I
Don't
just
worry
wanted
about
to,
that. Yeah, we're just going to go for $20,000.
I wanted to point
Yeah.
out to you, when I was reading in your report, that this was gonna start soon, and I was like,
Yeah, I can slow them down.
If you think it's a problem.
I don't think it's a problem. The
You
guy,
don't?
no, I don't
No,
think.
no, no.
Oh, do I think if it's a problem, he starts? I don't want to be criticized for that, so I prefer to hold them off until the money is accepted.
And you said the
It's
materials
gonna
are
pour on
there?
Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
You said the materials are there?
No,
Oh, okay.
he reached out to me today to say that he would like to get the orders come in, he'd like to get on site, bring the materials, and
Okay,
put fencing around it. So I'll just hold him off a week.
okay, all right, I just wanted to
Yes,
ask.
no, I think that's very smart.
Didn't want
Pam, just
everybody,
to confirm, we vote on the 27th.
so in theory,
No,
you could-
she said hold them off a week. so
Oh, February
hold them off.
27th?
I don't know what that is, 10 days.
Okay,
that's a Monday.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
so I'll tell him he can work the week of February 27th.
Yep. I mean, you don't anticipate any,
No.
I don't
We
either, but
love-
it's,
We love gifts.
yeah.
of course,
And
it's
it,
just,
and it just
I
takes care of
can
it,
see,
there's,
the only one who'll get pinched if I did something like that would be me. So
Well, it's-
I prefer not
it's
to.
more-
Right,
it's
but it
more
would be good
cake.
to, it'd be good to
Yeah.
have the quote for the plaque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I feel like I'm throwing cold water on things
No,
here.
no.
I'm like, I can't afford this, or can't do this.
You on a roll?
I'm on a roll here, just on a roll. Okay, anyway,
Thank
the
you for
gazebo,
getting
the
it
roof
done.
is lovely.
It is.
Yes.
It looks
Looks
so pretty. All right, on to our favorite topic, pickleball.
You want to start?
Yeah. Go for
Was
it.
that was a net?
No, go, you go for it. You guys
So
go for it.
our office has been extremely busy working on this for quite a few weeks, dealing with everything from our software, researching other software companies in order to provide a reservation system. We did work it out that our software can do it, which is great, rather than having to teach our entire staff another system. Cassie's been very busy putting together a very colorful schedule for the season that would that has a variety of different ways. It has reservations, it has open play, it has 90-minute drop-in play, and it has instruction. So we did meet this past Tuesday, and I invited Lori, and I invited a representative of the Darien Men's Association, and Valley Baker and Sean, who were instrumental in the fundraising. So we had, even though we've been listening to residents and the park crew and staff and others about conflicts or complaints and things like that, we've been listening and asking for suggestions and comments and concerns. We did that again on Tuesday, shared this system. There were a few suggestions and changes that were made, and we updated it, and I think we're feeling good about it. And I couldn't stress more that this is it's in progress, and it's going to be reviewed at the end of the year to see how things went. This is not locked in stone by any manner. We've never dealt with this on these courts before, but we certainly are very successful with our paddle tennis reservations. You know, we've raised up to $104,000 at paddle. However, we do have that staffed. This will not be staffed. So there's going to be some growing pains. But Cassie did a great job on this, and she even tallied at the end of this. She said, if every reservation were to book, which it will not, but it could be up to $62,000 that would be brought in to help maintain the park. And so we think maybe half of that, which is still a really nice profit to bring in. And we left in plenty of 90-minute play, which means that people keep talking about how much they love open play. We've heard that over and over again. But open play, there's the rules behind open play. So the 90-minute play, the reason we left that in there is because not everybody wants to be involved in the open play. So 90-minute play, you could just go down with your family and friends and play for 90 minutes. And that's free, and but again, you take the chance that a court will be open or not. And the lessons, we try to be very mindful with the lessons in terms of when they were during the day, and took the beginner lessons and put them all down on the tennis court, because there will be pickleball lines on the tennis court. We are purchasing 4 portable pickleball nets for the tennis court. So that in itself should help alleviate all the congestion of everybody wanting to play pickleball on the converted courts. So that's all we can do. It's going to be a work in progress. But I think, the staff has worked really hard to put this together and to make the changes, because there'll still be people that will want to see a different schedule.
Not everybody will be happy.
No.
What were the one or two tweaks that you guys, after meeting on Tuesday with Valley and Sean?
One of the biggest ones was to leave in open play Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings. And then there was also a request on Sunday mornings to have open play.
If they wanted more open play Monday mornings too.
So we are adjusting our reservations because we didn't want to keep, reducing the amount of reservations, because then if we're going to reduce it to almost nothing, it's not worth having it.
Right.
So we tried to, accommodate the suggestions by then moving the reservations a little.
One concern I expressed is having open play during the hours when, especially when the nature center students, first kind of 9-ish when kids are coming in, because open play by definition usually means more people are there because you're rotating in and out. We're in a reservation system. It's just the folks that are playing. So if we have to be a little bit mindful of the traffic.
Is there any reservation tied to open play or not?
No.
Okay, so the reservations are just the reservation time. We know it's not with the lessons, and we
Yep,
know it's
it's an
not-
hour and a half.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
And everything's 90-minute increments? Okay, thank you. Good.
Yeah, the other thing we had a lot of discussion about, because this meeting was yesterday, it's not on this agenda, so we'll have to get on a future agenda, but there was definitely discussion about limiting usage of the courts to Darien residents and their guests, which apparently is what Canaan does, as opposed to right now they're open, and we do get a lot of usage from, foursomes and folks from other communities. Sean was like, I'll make the sign, I can have it up in 3 days. I'm like, oh no, we gotta go through some process on that. So that's something we're gonna have to think about as a commission. The reservation system will only be for Darien residents, like it is with paddle tennis now. But right now, anybody can come from anywhere and use our pickleball courts, and that's something we have to think about as a commission. Certainly the folks we met with yesterday are recommending that we limit it.
The suggestion of the sign was for Darien residents only, and Darien residents and
their
guests only.
What about the tennis courts? What do we do about the tennis courts? Do we have a sign on that?
No, we do not, but we have ample tennis courts.
And of course, at Weed Beach, the access is limited to residents.
Yeah. But not at Cherry Lawn though.
Do you anticipate, he might be ready to be prepared for a little blowback this spring and summer from tennis players?
I said that
I
as
mean,
well.
at Cherry
I said
Lawn.
that as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Because
That's because
they
I
play a lot of tennis there, and that's,
They do.
I'm really surprised that the lessons are gonna be there. I thought Steve would be relegated to doing those lessons at the paddleball courts, which aren't used in the summer,
paddle tennis.
paddle tennis.
He has been giving us a lot of kickback on that.
But he
Yeah.
works for us.
No,
He
I
does that.
know.
Yeah,
So we
I love him.
were very mindful of that.
okay.
So I think
We have tennis people in town too. I mean,
Of
you know
course.
me, I love the pickleball,
Of
but
course,
I was just.
but we made sure we did it, we didn't do it during popular hours, but of course for our residents that want to have a lesson, also want to be mindful of them too in terms of not, putting out hours that wouldn't be convenient for them either. So again, it's a balancing act,
Okay.
but we were mindful of it.
And so some evenings are open for the people that are working the weekends.
Yes.
They're open for them to be able to
Yes.
play tennis and
Yes.
commuters and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a pickleball court. It's a share. It's a tennis court that has pickleball lines on it, but
It's just all three courts are lined, or two out of three?
all of them were
They were
supposed
all
to be
lined.
lined.
I see
Yeah.
that. And then there's
But they're
this one.
temporary. So
Okay.
right now, they're not lined, and I'm kind of
I'm not
waiting.
clear on what's happening then. If you could just explain that a little bit more. I know that we haven't done permanent till we seal it, but
Those are temporary in the sense that the courts are gonna get painted, and new lines have to go on.
But when they're painted, can you then make that decision as to whether to have the lines?
I think that,
Or
that's
they
not gonna
already-
happen until May-ish, in
Mhm.
May. So I'm just wondering whether I'll get any feedback or complaints before then from tennis.
Okay, it's hard to play tennis on courts that have pickleball lines. It really is.
But I will tell you that
Yeah.
we've always had the lines on there.
No, we
and I-
haven't.
Yes, we have.
No, not always.
No, but no, I'm just
We just
saying,
put-
lately
Okay.
with tennis, and over the past 2 years, we've had pickleball lines,
2 years, yeah.
and I have not gotten one complaint. So that's all I have to go on, but I do know that they're getting busier, and now if we're gonna be buying portable nets for down there too.
Yeah.
So I also am bracing myself for
Okay.
potential
You have,
complaints.
but just to be clear,
Mhm.
it's like you've got triple the lines, because what the lines used to be,
Mhm.
if you had your 3 tennis courts going across, right? You had pickleball lines drawn in on a normal
On a
tennis
different-
courts. Now there's pickleball on this side, there's
There's
pickleball
2
on that
courts
side.
on
There's
one,
pickleball
right.
on this side
Mhm.
and on that side.
And we
So
discussed,
you've created a lot.
getting
I'm
nets.
concerned about the amount of parking, because, I'm always like, there's 16, one pickleball court makes 16, so now we're gonna have that much more. So I'm just throwing that out there, and as long as you're flexible and you know, this could be an issue.
I do know, yeah.
We do.
Right. And just, again, I don't know what Sean and Valley said, but I know originally they were irritated that lessons were going on that main pickleball court that we built, and they would have preferred to see it at the paddleball courts because they're not being used in the winter or in the summer. I know it's
Yeah.
harder on people's bodies.
It's a different
you know,
surface though.
I get it. I just think that tennis has been there a long time, and so I also want to be mindful of that.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
for your hard
again-
work, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And also, just to be mindful that it is trial and error right now.
Yeah.
Right? So we can, as a commission, do anything, make the changes we want to make going forward.
But to be clear, once you paint it and seal it, those lines are in there,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean we couldn't paint over them with the right color, right?
Don't you have to strip the sealer off to do that?
I
Paint on the sealer.
I don't know. But I don't think that it's, if we wanted to make a change, we could make a change.
No, it's a lot of money, Adele. I think that's a fair
I
question.
know, I think we
to
made our
ask.
point.
Yeah. No,
Yes, you have.
I want to save us money and not have us walk into a mistake down the line. So that's maybe not a bad question to ask
Mhm.
before they
Right.
paint it.
I
If
agree.
we have to call an audible because suddenly you got all these people sending emails to you.
I think
That's
we
all.
should
Just
put it on
give
the
me a heads up.
April agenda to discuss before it's, and we can all discuss it again. And if we want to reduce it to only 4 rather than 6,
I thought
That's
it was
possible.
4.
no, it's 6.
For the pickleball?
There's 2 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court.
But I thought we were only doing,
No, I'm only buying 4 portable ones, but there's lines that are
oh,
on
I
there.
thought one, we weren't gonna paint the lines at all to leave one that's pure tennis.
But we could, so let's discuss
We're
that.
gonna talk about.
Okay.
And at that point, we could also talk about the non-resident issue. It's a limited resource and there's, tons of demand and people get up at, I personally know of individuals who are there before the sun is up to get on the court as soon as the sun is up.
Should we bring
Said a person tries to be very quiet, but the people are really,
There's a demand,
There's
yes,
a demand.
absolutely, and thank you for your hard work and all of that.
There's a
It's
demand, so we-
wonderful to see so many people down there of all ages, it's
Yeah.
really great.
so
Should
whether,
we bring up the Darien Men's Association too? Accommodation?
that's been in place, but, we agreed, the Darien Men's Association uses, we've given them the opportunity to use the courts 2 days a week for an hour and a half, and, we indicated we'd continue that, although we did express, and they've agreed that if they're gonna have, a reservation, that they should, we're now taking money for reservations, that they should contribute financially, and they didn't have a problem with that, so.
Like the only major accommodation that we're giving them is the ability to block out the Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh, so they get first dibs, basically.
Yeah,
Right.
But they're paying for it.
They're gonna pay
they're
for
gonna
it.
pay for it.
And it's the same time, Pam, they're like 8 to 9:30 or?
Whatever it was,
9 to
they're
10.
happy with it.
Right now,
9 to
it's
10:30.
10:30.
Yeah, 9 to 10:30, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they will be able to block it out for the season and pay up front for that. Whereas residents, for reservation, can reserve a week in advance. And we said too, that we will review that
I was gonna ask you.
next year.
Yeah.
This isn't permanent, let's review it, because we've had some bad behavior. And we want to make sure that everyone's respectful and following the rules, and if we get any pushback from some of the complaints we've had over the last 2 months, then that accommodation can be taken away.
The other thing as this is rolling out, what we're going to need to do is update our rules, because our park rules don't talk about pickleball at all. So I'll take a look at that and work with Pam and take a crack at it. But I think if we're gonna have a reservation system in place and stuff, that it needs a rules update. At the same time, that's where we would address whether, it's, residents and guests only. And then we can do some other tweaking. I mean, one thing came up yesterday at the meeting, which has come up in other contexts as well, is people playing music. We've heard complaints about people playing loud music at the basketball court. We certainly hear about complaints at the beach, somebody sitting at the beach and people have the boxes going, so we may want to talk, when we're updating the rules, talk about if we want to really set a standard regarding, people have to use their phones or whatever, so. That's something else we'll want to
That's good to know.
think about.
Because like, it ties into even like when we have church services, like we talked about the noise from that.
Right.
So, like, how do you tell a special event, like if they're doing something at Tilly, oh, you can't have a band, I'm just.
Right, yeah,
So we
yeah.
have to
I
be
was,
mindful of.
we have to be
those
mindful of
topics.
that. I was thinking more of, again, just,
Personal.
personal.
Yeah. But we should differentiate, I'm saying.
Yes, well, yeah, I want to think about it, but we did hear yesterday that I guess some people come and play music while they play pickleball, apparently.
They could bring
I've never
portable
experienced
speakers
it,
now.
but,
And portable speakers. I
Yeah,
think
you
we've
can use your
mentioned.
phone.
We also don't want to discourage kids from being outside and bringing their music and like using the parks. And we want to encourage that as much as we can right now.
okay. But we're, again, it's something we will have to talk about because, we have had,
Yeah.
we've had complaints,
That's
so.
fine.
Is it just kids playing music, or is it older people playing music?
The pickleball courts?
The pickleball courts, I got the impression it was adults.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Anyway.
Are you bringing rap music when you play live?
There you go. There you go. And then for those who I mentioned in my chairman's report, but for those of you who didn't know, we did have some vandalism on the courts in the last week or so.
Which one,
Red
the pickleball?
on the pickleball courts, red spray paint on the
Wow.
surface, and then I guess down on one of the
It's
trees.
a smiley face, it could have been worse, but it
Yeah.
still was bad.
And then down on one of the trees, you said down near the gazebo. It says there was
Yeah,
red
they
spray paint
sprayed,
down there.
Yes.
I saw it. It's like they tested it on the tree down there.
Yeah.
And then they came up and did it. And then Pam was contacted and I was filing a police report at the same time. And so
Yeah.
Officer Kate came down and investigated and took pictures and narrowed it down to a window of between late Friday night and late Saturday
That was that
night.
really
Because the
cold
first time it
school.
was seen was at 8 a.m.
Which is
Sunday
weird.
morning.
Yeah.
And then it was really, we gathered a little bit more information, so we believe it happened Saturday evening.
But anyway,
It's a bonus.
So our guys did
Super
their best to
disappointing.
try to get rid of it, but they really had a hard time, so it could have been the weather, but it's faded. We heard from Sean Valley that it's really faded a lot, but we'll see when it warms up what we can do.
paint over it, or when the guys are doing the painting of the tennis courts. But it's super disappointing. Oh, and then just pickleball, then there was also some discussion, as you know, that there's the one set of steps, and then there's the hill, and we took the other people complaining that it's very slippery. And Sean
Right
said
now,
in fact
very
that
slippery.
he had fallen. So we've got to come up with, whether we just put like a little stockade fence there or something, different ideas, or plants, I don't know, something.
It's all in front of the two benches apparently. It's really,
Yeah.
it gets a lot of activity, so there's a lot of feet there.
Yeah.
And so it's been rather wet and warm. So, but it's also quite a pitch of
It
a
is.
hill going down into that. And if people don't use the stairs,
Right.
which Sean didn't,
Yeah, and I know the instructors always say, at lessons, only use the stairs, so they're good about that, but just people don't, so I think we have to think of
I mean,
some
it's really-
creative way to
yeah.
block it off.
Yeah.
Put a berm there.
I know.
Some grasses.
Grow some extra grasses.
Or some little bushes, or just something, maybe just to block it off somehow. But we gotta think about that. Okay.
Okay. I think I just want to highlight the work with Darien Foundation. They've been just so generous, and right now I'm getting quotes for the flagpole that I was busy doing yesterday and today, and I'll be working with Sarah on the specifics they wanted to talk about with that. And I'm currently getting the approvals from all the boards on the $25,000 bid package for the Wheat Beach Meadow and Trail. And so far, so good there. And yeah, I'm just really excited to work with them. It's just been great. What else? And self-explanatory on the working groups, the playground committee. We did cancel for tomorrow, or postpone, if you will. It's a busy time for everybody with vacation coming up, and so we're going to be meeting at our next regular scheduled meeting on March 9th. So we'll get going then, and then of course on Tuesday we have our bases. We've been kind of having a hard time getting together too, so we have a Tuesday night, February 21 meeting at 7 o'clock. Yep. So we'll continue with that work there. I will also put in a fantastic job by our park crew, who are continually removing invasives out of Wheat Beach right now. They stopped at Cherry Lawn because it's really wet and muddy there right now. But Wheat Beach, they've been really making strides, and Lori can tell you about that.
I was gonna say, it looks unbelievable.
That's great.
Unbelievable. I was down there, I saw that when I was down there for paddle tennis yesterday morning, the trucks were going and going. I kept hearing all the chainsaws in the background, so afterwards I went over to look. I've been wanting this to happen for 30 years. It looks unbelievable. It just opens up the vista. There's a lot more to do.
And the area behind
the picnic area, and behind the paddle tennis courts, and behind the picnic area, which was horrible. And it's all opened up. The trees are like breathing. It's funny, my husband and I walked down there today, and we ran into good friends of ours who were out for a walk. And they're like, "Oh my God, Lori, how did you, like, it looks," they were just like blown away how amazing it looked.
And even those trees, Lori, you know where the kayaks are, right, Pam? So you remember
those were all
big
down?
trees, and those were bad invasives.
Yeah.
And I was like, we can't take them down in the summer, or people will freak out.
Yeah.
'cause but it looks
So good.
It's completely opened up the views,
Yep.
as you said.
It opened it up. So yeah, get down to Weed, walk. The area where the 6th paddle court is going to go has been kind of cleared out. And I guess the guys said, they were talking to my friends, said, "Oh yeah, we're going to come back tomorrow this week," and they've got a whole nother area they're going to do, and they kind of cut a path, but it's just, there's just all this extra land now. It's so open, and you can see the trees, and they did a great job.
Yeah, they did.
They did a great. It's just,
You just doubled the park.
Yeah.
like, no, it just, you can't even.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good group of guys, I think.
Yeah.
The other highlight I will mention is Jim and I are working on the additional paddle tennis court, and running into a little bit of a wall with P&Z. So we were a little surprised by having to hire an engineer, a site engineer. So of course, who'd I call? Dan Biggs. Can you help me out with this? And because the courts were installed back in the 80s, apparently, and it was before having flood regulations.
Yeah.
So now, thankfully, this bidder came in low enough that I don't have to go request money. So I have some money, but I'm hoping he'll come in a little lower for me and work with me on this, because we still have to provide funding for hooking up the electricity, hooking up the propane, putting in a staircase that was not in the bid. And we knew that because our guys were clearing out the space. But we do have some money and wiggle room to work with the ARPA funds. So because this guy is ready to go in May, but now this may hold us up. But I'm working as hard as I can to,
Is that the engineer who's ready to go in May? Is that what you mean?
the contractor to
The
build.
contractor.
Okay.
He has
And
a,
they'll be really careful with the propane, because that's near all those
Of course.
trees. With that 6 one's gonna be closest to the trees.
right, but they're mounted on the side too. These new tanks will be mounted to the side, which is nice. They're not underneath like the ones we have now, which are hard to get at. And plus, if anything, in a flood zone, those are under the courts. These will be external on the outside. So it's a really nice system. And he's, and the problem, I'm hoping Jeremy will work with me on this because timing is everything. This guy is really busy and has windows of opportunity. And one of the windows is late April, which won't happen, and early May. So I'm really hoping for that early May to get started. So that's it. Rest is
So Jeremy
self-explanatory.
just got wind of this somehow, and
Yeah, in a department heads meeting, he's like, "Yeah, we need to talk. We need to talk about stuff." Okay. Because even our contractor, who's going to build the court, said it's not a typical thing when the municipalities have current courts and to add on to them. That it's not a typical process to have to go out and hire a site engineer, but because these are so old and they're in the flood zone, and Jeremy's getting a lot of pressure from FEMA, making sure everyone's following FEMA. So, gotta do the right thing.
For the daddy-daughter dance, you said you sold 146 already. How many can you hold? How many people can you hold? You know, because it seems like there's a lot of interest, and I think I reached out to you when a non-resident wanted to come to the dance. So I don't know if we're opening it up to non-residents. If you have, is there enough?
We did discuss this in a staff meeting the other day. That 146 is actually times 2,
Right,
right? So you're really at 300.
right.
And Alicia's had up to 700 in that gym. So we're going to say 500 right now, just to be safe, and then we'll make some decisions moving forward. Because even every time we've had daddy-daughter dance right now, we've pulled the middle curtain
Right,
because it would appear empty,
right,
even with this 300.
right.
But if we get more, we'll open up the whole gym
Okay.
and have that space. So
this
it's
is
a good
Jim-
problem to
This
have.
Jim right here.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
And so it looks like you did a whole bunch with people getting sort of the new brochure out. Do you have a whole bunch of new programs for the spring? Are there things that you guys are trying that are new?
There are a few new things, but being mindful of Cassie going through her first spring.
Yeah, I know
and-
it's her first
Yeah, and her
event.
first events in the spring and summer. My suggestion to her was keep the things that are good
Okay.
and get those rolling and make sure that they're really, and then we'll start to talk about, implementing some new things, maybe taking things out that aren't working and putting some new things. So,
That's one of the things I hear is people always want to try new things and
Mhm.
different things that
Yeah.
other towns are
of
doing.
course, and I've said that as well. Like one of my things I would love to see is having like a mechanic 101 with the kids. Change your oil, or it could be not just for kids, but for anybody.
Yeah.
Learning how to change your oil, learning to
Change your
do
tire.
things right. And so just to contact a mechanic in town that might want to do something like that. So those are some of the little things that we like
just-
try to research different towns and see what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe more stuff about nature done on the beaches.
Yeah.
Stuff with, you could do kayak tours and stuff like that, things that we can use our resources for.
Absolutely. I'm good.
You're
Your turn.
good? My turn? I have a long list.
Oh,
So, you didn't mention what it is it Pam and I met with Neil Howe, on January 24th down at the Pear Tree Bathhouse to ask him to give us some ideas of how we could use the $50,000 that we've requested for the upcoming budget cycle to make that look, more closely to the fit and finish of the Weed Beach Bathhouse. Neil, of course, was the architect for that, so that seemed to be a good starting place. Pam reached back out to him. He's just very busy with work right now. He's gonna come back to us, but we don't have it yet. I think as we go through the process of the budget in the next few months, we're gonna have to have more detail, but I think we bought some time there just saying, look, we're trying to get professional input, but Neil definitely thought that we'd need every bit of the $50,000 to make that.
Can you get it before March 7th?
And the other thing
That's the
too-
Board of Finance meeting, we're gonna want it.
Right, and the other thing too is also shifting off of this, 'cause as a commission, you wanted to see it as a maintenance item. But some of the things we were talking to Neil about weren't maintenance.
Right.
They were remodeling.
So what were you talking about, just as an example?
We talked about, obviously, the stalls, because that's what the commission had mentioned. Changing the stalls, maybe the shower heads,
You're doing the whole shower floors.
light fixtures, and then he got into say we could retile, but that really wasn't, maintenance. That was,
That's what I mean, like,
Right.
what other things are
what else can you do
Right.
in there? Because of course he said $50,000 you could spend it, but it was, when you talked about maintenance, it wasn't necessarily that many items to work with than it was changing the look of it in terms of remodeling. And I don't know if I'm using the right term, but that's what comes to mind when I,
I mean, weed has
It needs
the
a
wood
facelift.
pan,
Yeah.
it has
Yeah.
the wood paneling on the
Yeah,
inside, so even if we
exactly.
really try to mirror something like that.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So, he knows we need it, so.
but we don't know if he's coming back with a quote or he's gonna give us a list. I have no idea. Because we really weren't totally clear.
Yeah, no, I thought he was gonna come back with a list of ideas and about what it would cost.
Because you really will need the specifics of what it's gonna,
I know.
piece by piece, that,
I know, you need a plan.
yeah, and to be clear, what is maintenance and what would go towards that $60-some thousand renovation cap.
Oh, that,
Jenny Schwartz suggested another idea today. She said, maybe also, if you want to check in with someone else, Bob Caldy did the warming hut, or whatever we're calling it these days, the bathroom at Cherry Lawn. And so he's a very respected builder in town. That's not as fancy as Weed Beach, but that is used all the time, so that might be somebody who could come back to us and get us some answers.
Right, what was the business name again?
Bob
Oh,
Caldy.
okay.
Yeah, very,
Fox
very
Hill.
respected guy.
Fox Hill.
Has done a lot of,
I did write it down in my
Business.
office because she had
Yeah.
called me about it.
yeah, I mean, I think probably we need to go back to Neil and just say,
Yeah.
like, if we can't have this, but,
Yeah.
we need to know.
yeah. And she only suggested it because it was a building in one of our
Yeah,
parks.
yeah,
so.
just say, look, we
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
you've got a full plate and whatever, but just, because we can't find out on March 5th
Right.
that he can't have it for the 7th.
I did reach out to him on Friday and he said that he was swamped and that he would try to take a look at it over the weekend, but I have not heard back from him.
Okay, we talked about the pickleball rules, we talked about the invasives at Weed Beach, that's good, we knocked that off. So we talked about the slope and the slipping and sliding, so we've covered a lot of these things. Just in terms of the budget update, Pam and I attended the Selectmen's Workshop on the budget on January 31st, Adele and other folks were there as well, and we were able to resurrect the aerator with a lot of help from Patty and a lot of residents, because Kate had taken that out. But there was just a flurry of emails the day they were going to vote to get the aerator back. I think you got the stump grinder back. There was also some discussion about the $50,000 for Pear Tree. Cara jumped in and sent a very well drafted email to Monica that day, really talking about how this ties in with what we heard in the survey and that we really need to do that. So there's been a lot of work behind the scenes with people kind of making contact. Susan, you attended the meeting, but I was not available for the night of the selectmen's vote, and we're there to answer questions as well as to answer questions on the votes for the gifts. So there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. What did not make it in was the full-time position where we had proposed to pull together various, part-time positions and create one full-time position. Kate cut that. She thought that they were too disparate, which we didn't necessarily agree with, but it did not find its way back in there. So did she then restore the money we need for those
Yes.
part-time positions?
Yes.
Okay. So we may have to do some more work there and take another crack on that for next year, because, I'm definitely concerned that the staff is getting stretched in here. All the stuff we're talking about, the devil's in all of these little details, and they're dealing with all of these things day in, day out. Yeah, well, the hill to the pickleball is slippery, this to that. And,
That's a lot.
we haven't had a full-time add to staff in.
And we're gonna see how, this
Long
spring, how difficult it is to fill these part-time positions.
Yeah. So, I think we're trying, so that was a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. The Coastal Commission was supposed to meet on Monday, but got canceled at the last minute because a lot of people were away. The chair did share with us by email that the Darien shellfish beds, which had been closed by the state last summer, have now been reopened. So that was good news. So that's a go for people shellfishing this year, and then there's a rule that be closed if there's more than, I think, off the top of my head, it was I want to say half an inch of rain, but maybe it was an inch and a half, but whatever, there's a rain threshold, then they would be closed for a certain amount of time. So other than that, I don't have anything else to report on them. Oh, you didn't talk about, we had a suggestion from a resident, Sarah Schwartz, about that
I
beach
met her.
bucket program.
Yeah, I met her at the dog park.
Okay.
When I went over and she was picking up the garbage along the beach.
Okay.
She's very passionate about her project.
Okay, so this is a resident, she was in Florida and noticed that some of the Florida beaches put up racks, for lack of a better word, and they have buckets that are about this high, this around, and they've got like the town logo on or whatever, and the buckets are there, and people can grab a bucket and go around the beach and pick up debris and garbage and whatever, and then there's a receptacle, and feeling is people would pick up the garbage, but they have nothing to put it in, so she was interested to see if Darien would be interested in a program like that, so.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded great. She said that the way it works is that I was talking about because I was like, oh, there's so much wood down here.
Yeah.
They're so well secured, they won't fly around. That's my biggest concern is like watching these things, go this way and that way. And it was really nice talking to her about it at the beach with the dog. She brought her dog down too, and she was out there picking up garbage, even with her little doggy bags, because she's so passionate about keeping the litter off the beach. So she made it sound like a very tried and true program down south. So I thought it would be fun, and it's a nice thing. Oh, you got kids that need something to do.
Right.
Hey, grab a bucket. Let's go have some
Right.
fun at the beach.
Right.
Let's find some treasure. Some of it might be garbage.
When I
Let's
was in
just have fun.
Florida last June, we were taking a walk over this beautiful bridge, and when you, right at the beginning of the bridge, there was, bags and a message like, here, please take a bag and pick up garbage, and at the end of it, there's the garbage that you throw it away. So, and we did. We took our bags and we collected bottle caps and all kinds of stuff, and you didn't have to take it home. There was a garbage can at the end, but. And this is the same idea here, to have the dumpster to throw it in.
Yeah, it's just that they're reusable, which is nice.
They're reusable, and
Yes.
they're the ones that she said, they're like logoed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could probably, if you did something fun, you could have local businesses put their names on it if you wanted, or kids control,
Yeah,
kids
that's
sponsor
great.
them. I don't know. There's just a variety of different fun ways that you can get the community involved.
Right. So where did we leave that with her? She was gonna bring it up at a beautification?
Right, and I just didn't, I think that is something we really could do on our own. I think our
She
guys.
did bring it up at the I watched the
Okay.
Education Commission.
Okay.
It's the only reason why I know anything.
Okay.
She did bring it up. They loved it. They might pay for the buckets and
Okay.
put their own logo on it, so you talk to them.
Yeah, okay. Okay, cool.
Do you all know about the beach cleanups they do in Stanford once a month, all year round? They do it through Soundwater, so I thought maybe
Okay.
you might have heard about it. But my husband went to Soundwaters, and they conduct a beach cleanup every month. They bring in all the buckets, and all these volunteer groups come, and individuals come, and they schedule it. They send an email every month saying, come to our beach cleanup. They get literally hundreds of people doing it every month, and then they weigh it all. at the end of the day. I mean, last weekend, they picked up 400 plus pounds of garbage. It's just at one beach. It just might be something that we could institute in Darien and have the Girl Scouts or.
Because we do
The
currently
Scouts.
have
We
groups
do.
that come in and
We
clean,
do.
that volunteer.
It's not every month, but we do
Yeah.
have cleanups, and the Coastal Commission also hosts cleanups.
Yeah, there's a few different
every
groups.
spring.
I didn't even know, I just thought I'd bring it up
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they have a lot of fun with weighing the garbage.
Mhm.
That seems to be a really interesting thing. And then they spotlight the things that they found that month. It might be a bank safe or some funny, grocery card or something, but it's just,
Grocery card.
it's a lot of fun because they build on this with their email messages and it just seems, my husband loves it. He just thinks it's so great and it's just part of what they do at Soundwaters, but they do it with the town of
Right,
Stanford.
right.
So, anyway, good thought.
Thank you.
Why don't we have her come in if we're interested, if you think
Yep.
for March or something?
Yep.
Just have her come in and we'll think about funding or whatever. It sounds like people like this type of stuff.
It's a good idea.
The other thing Pam and I have been talking about is at Baker Park, those of us who drive by that area, a lot have noticed that there's what appear to be commuters are parking there, because it's free.
Walk to the train station.
And walk to the train station, and so we did check in with the police chief regarding any limitations to us posting, parking, no parking signs, so we have to work out the details in terms of, does it say no all-day parking, do we put like a 3-hour limit,
We
or
did that at
or
Dillon
whatever?
so the kids wouldn't park there to go to school. So I think that we put a limit there, like a 2 or 3 hour, I can't remember.
But do you put it in every spot or?
I think we
so-
did, you just
Yeah.
park, you say, when put it in the signs
Right.
to go in.
Right, but Don, he said that that's your purview, and then whatever we put out, then,
It's 2 hours,
I
Dillon,
think it's
right?
2 hours.
yeah, then they would
He drives
enforce.
every day, so
Yeah, I keep on, I go the other way now to drop my daughter off, so yeah.
Yeah.
I just think just 2 hour would do it, and just, as you drive in, it says 2 hour parking,
Right, right, so anyways.
Check the length of the baseball games though. before you-
Well, that's the only thing we have to worry about, is because during baseball games, parents could be there longer. But, it could also be Monday to Friday too, because I think,
Is it?
I've counted like up to a third of the spots full with cars.
Just,
And
Yeah,
what
I,
are you, like, are you seeing them during
I'm-
the day or the evening?
All day.
or-
yeah, but it's not, but not
And it's
enough
not
that we've ever
neighbors
received,
parking over there 'cause
we've
they're
never
in the
received
space?
complaints about it.
Pardon?
That's good.
We've never received complaints about it.
Okay.
But we have, like Kate's noticed, I've noticed, like I'll go by and
I've
see
noticed.
4 or 5 cars, but there's nobody at the park. They could be in the trail,
Yeah.
in the back, it's
No,
possible.
I did one day, I counted 9
Right.
cars,
Really wet back
I
there.
did the
It's
trail,
not
there was
neighbors
nobody.
using that as an additional
Sometimes it
parking
is.
spot or
But
something.
that
Yeah,
shouldn't be
that's too
happening. But the thing is,
consistent.
once
No, I'm just
baseball
wondering.
season starts,
Yeah,
you've
it's gonna
got
be harder.
parents coming in, and you can't have,
There's not much parking.
Right.
there's not much
Yeah.
parking, a third of the parking
Yeah.
taken up. So anyway, we need to get a sign, so
Yeah.
police chief's like, you decide what you want, post it, and then if you notice problems or whatever, then, he said probably the first time we put on a warning or whatever, but they'll enforce it for us, so we just have to button down. I kind of was thinking maybe limit on, let's say, 3 hours or
Yeah.
something.
That's fine. Just the catch.
Yeah.
You said you were gonna check with Little League, or you did
I
check with
did,
Little
they
League?
don't think it's a problem at all.
But they thought 3 hours was
Yes.
fine.
It's to
Okay.
deter people.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna really sit there and say, wow, that person's been there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's not like that guy that comes around town and says, takes your tire and says, oh, she's been here for an hour. You know what I'm talking about? They're not gonna do that. We're just gonna have signage up, right?
We'll have signage, but
The police won't.
Will
do
the
anything.
guy, how there's a
they'll do if
guy,
we ask them. They would do if we ask them, but, I mean,
parking enforcement guy that's a
I'll go
different
to
guy?
the cops and say, you know what, I've been there for 6 hours.
Okay.
I got nothing to do, right?
We'll put signs on
All you have to do is enforce it a few times.
it. Or even have a signage up, because right now there's nothing.
There's
Nobody
nothing, there's
knows.
nothing to tell people they can't do that,
So it's okay.
so it's okay.
So should we have that on the next agenda that,
No, I
do we
think we
need to
can
talk about it, just do it?
No,
We don't need to.
I think we can just do
Yeah,
it.
just do it.
Just do it. Talking about, okay, so the last thing, I think we're gonna have to go into new business, which, I always feel about, but Janet pointed out to me this morning, and I did subsequently hear from Monica before I got to her, that there's yet again, proposed state legislation, about access to coastal resources, i.e. beaches. And there's a proposal that would require coastal towns to open up beach parking to all, even out-of-state non-residents, on almost the same conditions as residents of the town or city who pay for the beach amenities, structures, insurance, and staff. So there is a public hearing on Friday.
Well, written testimony doesn't have to be submitted before.
Right,
necessarily. It can be
so
like after.
Monica emailed me and copied our new state rep Tracy Mara to say, if you guys want to give, verbal testimony, you have to register like tomorrow morning, which I just don't see how we can be ready. I know Monica did the testimony last year, and she was in the queue for hours. Like she was sitting there looking at the computer all day.
Well, that's by design.
Which is by design. I don't have much enthusiasm for that whatsoever. But I do think we should, consider setting testimony. So I think to talk about this, we probably need to go into new business to decide what we want to do. And that's the last thing I have for this evening. So if somebody could make a motion to go into new business, Susan, second, Kathy, all in favor? Okay. So we would need to, conclude as a group that we want to submit testimony, presumably opposing this, but I don't want to speak for anybody. I'm only saying that because there was similar legislation floating around last year, and we did as a commission submit testimony opposing it. So unless people's views on that have changed.
My only question is this different from last year? I haven't seen it, do we know?
No, it's not different, same.
Same.
It's very
It just
similar.
keeps coming back. So, it almost feels to me like we could resubmit the same testimony and maybe do any updates. I think,
And I
Which is the
sent
bills right now.
Monica some data from my office too, in terms of
Okay.
how many man hours that we spend at both our beaches,
Okay.
with an approximate, average of hourly cost, which was like
Could you forward that to the commission?
to Monica.
Right, could you forward it to?
Forward that. So,
I'm gonna leave that to her.
was she submitting
For her.
testimony?
She is.
Oh,
Monica
she
is.
didn't tell me that.
Yeah, she
Email.
is on Friday.
So do we both?
Oh,
want
I
to
thought,
submit
I thought
testimony?
she wanted us to, at least.
No, I was told that she is submitting tests, or she's gonna be, let me look.
That's great to know.
Because it should be one of us, not
Yeah.
necessarily both.
Yeah, well, that's from
Then why,
them.
then why did she reach out to us?
Hold on. Hold on.
So this one is.
Says, I know Parks and Recreation meeting tonight, wanted to touch base about the bill, blah, 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 blah. I'm hoping that your chairman's report tonight, you are planning to make sure your fellow commissioners and the general public are aware of it. This is our opportunity to register any concerns. If you have any questions on the process, for submitting written or oral testimony, please don't hesitate to ask. Also, State Rep Tracy Marr mentioned at the last OPC meeting that she encourages constituents to let her know when they submit testimony. So I interpreted that to mean that she wanted us to submit.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Testimony.
Kate said Monica, as, if you put something together for Monica, as she is preparing to provide testimony.
Okay then, cool. Does she have a copy of what we submitted last year?
I do not know. I had to do that as quick as I could
Okay.
because.
Janet, you worked on it. I know Susan, you did some work on it as well, because I think that happened last year when I was away. So,
Unfortunately, it was in my town email that I no longer have.
I might have it.
Okay.
They delete stuff though too if it gets too full. I noticed because I
It
had to
was a
delete.
year ago.
Let me check tomorrow. It's not on this computer, it's on another one.
Okay, like we had a final draft, obviously, that we
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
submit.
Yeah.
What I could do is go into Hartford's database for all,
okay,
it's all online.
okay. Could I
Oh,
ask you
I
to
got it, yeah.
work on just locating what we submitted last year?
And share it with Monica.
It was in
And then-
March.
Yeah, I know it was in March, because
March
I was
16th.
away,
I have
yeah.
it, yeah. I'll send it to you.
Oh, you have it?
The final
Okay.
draft, okay.
Okay, or maybe send it to, well, I should probably have it too, because
It's a PDF.
that's fine, because I probably did.
I can send it to you.
Yeah, just share it with the commission
Share it with the
first.
commission, copy
And then,
Pam.
we'll see
And then
if
you can get it to
Monica-
Monica, copy me.
Okay.
And
Just
Monica
say-
submitted something, it says here too. I see a copy of her thing for some reason.
Did she do something too?
No, I thought we
Her-
just submitted it last
Her
year.
name came up when I did it.
She asked us
Registered she registered for the actual hearing where she
Right.
had to testify orally, but
Oh,
that's.
right, but we provided,
different
Was there
process.
2 bills? There was a 52, 54.
Yeah, there were 2 beach
53,
bills.
60.
but we
Yeah.
provided the testimony, and I would think that most of what we said last year,
As long as the bill doesn't change.
you know, really is still the same situation, except now we even know that we're talking about spending, $1 million at weed and, as much as 5 at Pear Tree to do coastal remediation, so I don't know if we had that detail in there, but, this is real cost to our taxpayers right now to maintain these beaches, like I've noticed, so we want to make sure that point gets really driven home.
Increased housing too, which, I don't know if we said last year.
Right, and then we have the increased housing.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
more demand for beaches.
Yep.
We had some of those statistics actually in
Right.
minutes this past week.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We are able to now update some of the
Yes.
numbers that we didn't have last year.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I think we should do that. But yeah, it's, the narrow roads is still an issue. We all know what Pear Tree Point Road is like. It's like this, there's no shoulder, it's very windy, there's nowhere for overflow parking.
And this does tie to the working group that I think Chris is going to be leading for looking at, out-of-town employees. And-
Yeah, it's all kind of
Right,
Same
sounds
idea.
the same idea.
right. Because you can't really say this here, but of course, this is a much bigger population, but
Right, but
the
still, it's the same
principle is
idea
same.
that the parking is a very limited resource because both Pear Tree Point Road and Nearwater Lane, there's no shoulder to put, there's just nowhere else for people to park. At least at Weed Beach, people can park at the school and walk down, and
They do?
they do, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine, but it's just the parking is the limited resource. So if you guys could work on that or just coordinate and get, work on it tomorrow to get whatever we need. But if she's gonna testify, that's
Yeah.
awesome, okay. Okay. Okay, I think I hit on everything I have for everybody. So, I think we could have a motion to adjourn. Susan? Kathy? All in favor? Any opposed? Okey dokey, thank you, Channel 79, we are out.
Thank you.